Hey everybody, Rob from Karma Comment Chameleon. Today we're looking at the MaliciousCompliance subreddit. First story, yes sir, I'll be happy to honor your expired coupon. Let's jump right in. I just remembered this one from a few years back. I worked nights at a hotel. Back then, the manager would place ads with coupons advertising rooms at a discount. In general, these coupons were a real pain in the butt. They clearly said not valid on weekends or holidays and had expiration dates. I would regularly have to argue with guests because they were trying to use them in violation of the terms. Anyway, one day, this guy comes in and slaps a magazine with one of our coupons down on the desk and stares me down. I sigh internally and look at the coupon. It's a couple of months out of date. Our rate for the night is, I know the rate, it says it right here. He jabs his finger into the magazine, just about punching a hole in our marble counter. Now you're going to honor this coupon or I'm gonna call my friend who owns the company. I really want to tell him to go ahead, because if he really knew the owner, he'd know that the company is a franchise and each hotel is privately owned. Instead, what I say is, absolutely, sir. You see, what I was going to tell him before he cut me off was that his coupon was out of date and from the height of tourist season. Since the season was over and we'd already gotten snow, our regular nightly rate was almost half of what his coupon said. Since he was insistent that I honor it, I saw no reason not to charge him almost double what everyone else was paying. I can just picture this guy being all happy about his coupon being honored, and OP just sitting back and laughing internally. On to our next story. Full accounting of my time? You got it, and then some. My boss is a lunatic who will often, without prompting, flip out and accuse me of wasting time. I literally do the work of 5 people. I run the office and the other employees, do invoicing, accounting, tech support, admin stuff, etc., but also graphic design, photography, website design, videography, content creation, and social media, among others. I am dead by the end of every day, which is usually 12 hours long. This flip out happens meanwhile he's constantly interrupting me for stupid stuff instead of letting me work. He has no self-awareness of this no matter how many times I try to point it out to him. And if something doesn't get done, he again loses it and accuses me of wasting time. A few months ago, he demanded a full accounting of my time. This was after he interrupted me repeatedly for discussions about his religion, and I was at the end of my rope. So here is an excerpt of the full accounting of my time as he requested. 11:45 to 12:20, editing and working on hype video, including organizing, trimming, melding clips. 12:20 to 12:55, you stopped me for a religious discussion, reading several biblical parables aloud and explaining them. 1 o'clock to 1:22, video editing, arranging clips in preparation for music and special effects. 1:22 to 1:54, you stopped me to show me several lengthy Grant Cardone videos because they annoyed you. 1:54 to 2:29, video editing, transferring files to hard drive for compilation. 2:29 to 2:40, you stopped me to have me watch a YouTube video of a duck. In total, he took up 3 hours and 28 minutes of my day. He mostly shut up about my time wasting. This is where you know that boss doesn't do any work themselves during the day, because if they spent 3 hours and 28 minutes showing you things, how much time do they spend just looking at them themselves? On to our next story. Force this kid to take the final? Fine, he'll take it. So this happened years ago when I was in high school, but I smile every time I think of it. My high school had a policy that anyone who has missed less than a certain number of school days could pick one class they had an A in to skip the final. You could get a couple extra days for college visits, but otherwise it was very straightforward. Awesome policy, and we all loved it. One year, we had this kid who was in 8th grade and had been diagnosed with cancer. He spent a lot of his year sick, getting treatment, going to the hospital, running to the bathroom to throw up, etc. Despite all this, he finished the year with an A in his Spanish class. It was his only high school class, so it was the only final he would have been able to skip. Administration was not going to let him skip the final because he had missed too much school. He and his parents asked them to make an exception, given the situation, but administration wouldn't budge. His teacher stood up for him, but was told this kid had to take the final no matter what. He had missed too many days, and there would be no exception. The teacher said okay, but told her class not to study for, worry about, or exempt her final. Then, the first day, all her students showed up for the final. She told them to take out a piece of paper and number it 1 to 3, leaving one line in between each number. She then asked 3 questions along the lines of, what is your name? How do you say yes in Spanish? And how do you say hello in Spanish? Then she collected the final. Everyone got a 100 that year, and she became a legend. The kid has been cancer-free for over 5 years now. Epic teacher is epic, but I bet that didn't go over well with the school administration. I hope that teacher still has their job. On to our next story. Correcting my every move? Oops, this is on you. Back in the early 90s, I worked in graphic design. I took a job with a small agency, now defunct, and was supposed to be the creative director. Soon after joining, I learned that I was fed a line of BS, and that actually I was considered an entry-level designer. This, after having my portfolio reviewed with videos of commercials, tapes of radio stuff, entire campaigns written and concepted by me, etc. But nope, you are entry level now. Well, I needed the job desperately and was told your first 3 months are probation, after that you'll get larger duties. Well, okay, let's see how this goes. I had rent and a car payment, so not a lot of choices, and nobody was hiring. During that idiotic probation, the guy I was replacing was still there for a month, I know, to oversee the transition. Seriously, folks, transition over maybe 5 accounts that weren't that busy, but whatever. Not to mention my 15 years in the biz, and this guy's only had 2 years, but I digress. This guy, let's call him Jay, because that's his name, was a really freaky dude. He looked like an alien and acted like a robot. Zero emotions, barely moved his face when he talked, never laughed, and, most importantly, not creative at all. And a real bastard when it came to all the silly rules and regulations of this tiny 5-person agency. Basically, a real pain in the butt. But I did my best to do what he wanted, knowing he'd be, thankfully, gone soon. Within the first month, I was given an assignment of designing a pocket folder with inserts, very standard stuff. Instead of the standard vertically tabbed inserts, however, the client wanted them to be stepped, meaning that each insert gets shorter and shorter as it gets to the front of the pocket for a stepped look. A hassle, but nothing that difficult. For a couple of days, I'm getting the measurements right, making sure this rough is totally perfect because Jay. Picked out all my colors, fonts, etc., and getting them approved by my incredibly hands-on agency owner. An entire novel could be written about this, but that's for another sub. So, now that the rough idea has been approved by the client, the next week I'm creating the actual files for the job to be printed from. I got all the portions correct. It's just waiting for the final text from the client and I'll be all done. Please note that this is an ad agency and every minute of our time is recorded on time cards as to what we're doing and what client it's for. We're not allowed to even fudge on this card no matter what, even if it's us correcting our own errors or whatever. And, per Jay, we're supposed to supply details on each portion down to even putting down the minutes for our filling out the time card. Yes, idiotic, but there you have it. I come in the next morning and there's Jay. He's sitting at my computer and on the screen is my folder job. So, I casually sit down in the adjacent chair and say, "Hey Jay, what's up?" Jay doesn't turn to me or look at me. He just states with a robotic yet irritated voice, "I have spent the last 2 hours going over this folder job and correcting your incredibly stupid errors. The sizing of these inserts is all over the place, and this is incredibly sloppy work. I don't know why this place even hired you." So I'm barely able to contain my laughter, but state, "Oh, Jay, that's interesting." Wait for a beat. "Did you read the job folder description? Because those inserts are supposed to be stepped down in size for each one. It took me about 2 hours to get that just right. I certainly hope you didn't change all of them because your time will have to be explained, and then, per your instructions, I'll have to write down on my time card who messed them up and why I had to do them all over again." I watched the back of Jay's head, who was now frozen in place and not moving. His ears slowly turned bright red. "Well, Jay, you'd better get out of my chair because I'm going to have to get busy and change them all back, and that's going to take a while. Oh, and Jay, make sure and put down on your time card the hours you spent this morning on this job and explain them so I don't get in trouble for going over the budgeted hours." Jay slowly got up from the chair and walked out. What poor young Jay didn't know is that I had a secret file of backups and it wouldn't take me that long. But I was going to sit at that computer and pretend to be working on that job for the rest of the day while talking on the phone to my friends. And I'd be sure to mark down all the time it would have taken to fix young Jay's mistakes with a very detailed explanation for my hours per Jay's instruction. I left that horribly run agency within a few months to start my own design business. It was the last time I ever worked for someone else. I retired last year after 25 years owning my own business, but I'll always remember Jay and laugh. Thanks for the laughs, Jay. I have to feel for Jay in this one because I'm pretty much the same. If I get embarrassed, my ears go bright red, and it's such a giveaway, it's just not even fair. I want to thank all of the OPs for posting their stories to the Malicious Compliance subreddit. Please visit them at the links in the description below and give them an upvote. What are your favorite types of stories to hear, and what subreddits would you like to hear other stories from? I'm looking forward to kind of expanding the channel a little bit, and I'd love to hear from you guys on what you'd like to hear. Please comment down below. I'll be sure to respond to as many of them as I can. Once again, this is Rob from Karma Comment Chameleon saying thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and share it with your friends. And we'll see you in the next one.